I'm 45 and still have my V card. My only experience with intimacy came from Rope. I didn't fight him. I was 12. I didn't even try, because honestly I didn't really care. I just laid there and let him do his thing. I just waited for him to be done. I hadn't wanted to do it, but I really didn't care that he didn't listen. I was too depressed. I started disassociating when I was 13, because my home life was miserable. My dad was a malignant narcissist and escaping into my head was my go-to way of coping. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at 18, and around the same time, fell in love with a boy who was everything to me. As much as I wanted to be intimate with him, I was scared of intimacy because of how I was raised, so I wanted to take it slow. He had his own troubles with substances and depression, and not too long after we got together, his demons became too much for him to handle and he ended himself. His death destroyed me. We barely had a chance to begin and suddenly he was gone. I pushed all my friends away and retreated into my head to cope. I gained weight, and for several years, felt nothing. Eventually, I made a few new friends, and even tried messing around with another boy, but I felt absolutely nothing when I was with him. A couple years later, I moved across the county to be near my mom when my parents retired in another state. My new psychiatrist started giving me the wrong meds and the new meds made it impossible to function. I was living in a 24/7 state of anxiety, became agoraphobic, and disappeared into my head completely. I started doing something called maladaptive daydreaming. I was on social security disability so I didn't have to worry about working, so I lived 24/7 in fantasy worlds inside my head. I reached 300 pounds, had no friends, lived in rags and filth, and ceased to be a person in the real world. 25 years went by. Now, even though I am doing much better finally, I went so long without my own identity, that it's taken me some time to learn how to be a real person again. There's some residual damage I am dealing with, but I am doing really well now. I lost 50 pounds so far, and I plan to keep losing. I've made some good friends, and rediscovered my identity. I'd like to start dating, but I am so embarrassed and ashamed to admit to any man I might meet that I am basically still a V-card owner. I may have technically had intimacy once, but it was so long ago, and I got absolutely no enjoyment out of it. I've never had an adult romantic relationship and that is so embarrassing. I'm 45, for God's sake, and I feel like I have more in common with 20-year-olds than I do with people my own age. It feels like I fell asleep at 18 years old and woke up a 40-year-old. I feel like such a freak. I hate it.